Shalom Chaverim. Today we are in Chol HaMoed Sukkot, Shabbat Chol HaMoed Sukkot, which means we are having a special holiday reading. So it's not a portion that is consecutive that we read as part of the chronology of the portions, but rather a special holiday reading. Interestingly enough, it's a holiday reading that comes instead the last portion in the Torah, Vezot HaBracha. Next week, we're going to start from the beginning, Bereshit. And today we're going to talk about the special reading together with Friedrich Nietzsche and Thus Spoke Zarathustra. We will get to that. So, shatter for me, you who understand the old tablets. Now, these words were not said by Moses, but rather by Zarathustra. Who is the protagonist, of course, of Thus Spoke Zarathustra. It was written by the German philosopher Nietzsche in 1883. And the special reading that is assigned for the holiday of Sukkot is a curious one. It's, the moment before we finish reading the Torah, we are transported back to the moments right after the ordeal of the golden calf. And right after that, there is, specifically in those verses, there's a conversation between Moses and God. And in my mind, my opinion, one of the most important conversations in the entire Torah. It's a deeply philosophical and theological conversation that is our holiday reading. And in that conversation, Moses, it's all about the renewal of the covenant between God and the people after, of course, the ultimate betrayal that they have committed. And so essentially Moses tells God, okay, so if you want them to trust you again, tell me who you are. That's the essence of the conversation. But let's go back to that moment of the golden calf. ויהי כאשר קרב אל המחנה, וירא את העגל ומחולת, ויחר אף משה, וישלך מידיו את הלוחות, וישבר אותם תחת ההר. Okay, so this is the moment. As soon as Moses came near the camp and saw the calf and the dancing, he became enraged, and he hurled the tablets from his hands and shattered them at the foot of the mountain. Now, there are many, of course, tons of commentary about this verse and about the moment of breaking the tablets. So, was it a calculated decision? Some commentators say that the tablets slipped from Moses' hands because of the shock of seeing what he saw. Some say that it was a heat of the moment thing. Some say that it took a while for that to happen. But today I wanted to share with you a commentary by the Meshech Chochma. The Meshech Chochma is, we call Rabbi Meir Simcha HaKohen from Dvinsk. And he wrote, his Torah commentary is actually called Meshech Chochma, so his nickname is Meshech Chochma. He was born in 1843, died in 1926. So I'm going to read you actually the full commentary here from Meshech Chochma about his take of the breaking of the tablets. So he's saying, and do not think that the temple and the Mishkan, the tabernacle, are holy things in and of themselves. God forbid. God, may God's name be blessed, is found amongst God's children. And if they transgress the covenant, all of the holiness of the temple and the Mishkan is removed from them and become profane. Titus entered the Holy of Holies and degraded it, and he was not harmed because of it, since its holiness had been removed. In addition, the tablets, which had God's writing, even they were not themselves holy, but only holy for the Israelites. And since the Israelites acted as a prostitute underneath the wedding canopy, it's very dramatic, the tablets were considered to be like profane vessels without any holiness in and of themselves, but rather only if you observe the commandments in it. The sum of the matter is that there is nothing sacred in the world. So, Meshech Chochma is telling us, אין שום עניין קדוש בעולם. There is nothing sacred in the world. Some of you may heard me talk about Yeshayahu Leibovich, who basically had similar things to say about that nothing really is inherently holy, right? It's we with our act are what making something holy or not. So basically what Meshech Chochmah is saying here is that when Moses brought those tablets and they had this moral code, right, that was very holy, and once he saw that the Israelites were not ready to receive it, it meant nothing to them. They were doing the exact opposite. All the holiness was removed from those tablets, so they were worthless. That's why he broke them. That's his interpretation. So basically, and even more than that, the Israelites wanted to worship something that is worldly, a false idol that is in and of this world. And Meshech Chochmah is explaining that perhaps what Moses understood is that if they were given the tablets at that moment, they would just turn those precise tablets into a false god. They would worship it in a way, in a worldly way that is distorted, that is perverted, that is criminal. So that's even more of a reason to break them. And this is exactly where Nietzsche comes in. So Thus Spoke Zarathustra is a good work to represent Nietzsche, because it actually contains a lot of his core ideas that you can find in other books. And Zarathustra here, who's the protagonist, it basically comes and goes down from a mountain and speak to the people, is conveying lots of Nietzsche's idea. But in the core of Nietzsche's philosophy, the goal for any human being is to reach their true potential and fulfill it. Now, that is really just saying it in one sentence, is something that really dwells in his idea of will to power. And I know that over the years, it's very hard for a lot of people, especially Jewish people, to handle Nietzsche and his will to power, since it was harnessed, obviously, by the Third Reich, by the Nazis. But his will to power in his core is exactly this, is the ability of a human, after a really, really hard journey, to come to a point where they find their true potential, they know who they are, and they fulfill it. And Nietzsche says, he basically writes his philosophy not to everyone, but for a selected few, for those who are supposed to be our leaders, and for them to try and find it. Nietzsche explains that in order to get there, we are going through phases. We are transitioning from what he calls, we're transitioning from the camel to the lion to the child. Now, I know it sounds a little out there, but let me explain. The camel phase is the phase that we're all at, essentially, for most of the beginning of our lives. So from birth, we are told by our society and by everyone around us, we are told what to do and what not to do. And those rules that we don't question, we carry on our backs like a burden. And this is why the camel, okay? This is the camel's face. So we walk in the world with this burden. But then we are transitioning into the lion. The lion is us asking questions. Why do these rules exist? Who said this should be so? And really starting to unpack and destroy and shatter everything. And this phase is everlasting, and it's very, very difficult. And Nietzsche describes it like a struggle. He actually describes it as a struggle between the lion and the dragon. And the dragon is basically a creature that comes to us, and this is directly from him, with thou shalt not. So we are supposed to fight all those thou shalt not that the dragon lashes at us, and come on top. And so basically, in the war between the lion and the dragon, we're supposed to come on top with the tablets that we were carrying shattered. And let me read it directly from Zarathustra, from Nietzsche. about, you know, his tablet and this idea. And it's really cool. I like Nietzsche's writing. Okay. Thou shalt not rob. Thou shalt not kill. Such words were once called holy. Before them one bent the knee and bowed the head and took off one's shoes. But I ask you now, where have there ever been better robbers and killers in the world than these holy words have been? Does all life not itself comprise robbing and killing? And that such words were called holy was truth itself not thereby killed? Or was it a preaching of death that called holy whatever contradicted and spoke against all life? Oh, my brothers, shatter from me the old tablets. This is Nietzsche, which is pretty much Meshe Chochma. It's pretty much what he's saying. And of course, Nietzsche here is calling against organized religion, which is obviously famous for. But basically, just like the Meshe Chochma, what he's saying here is that those tablets became the false idol. Basically, those words became the crime itself. Which is why Meshe Chochma explained Moses shattered them, and also why Zarathustra calls brothers shatter the tablets. Okay, so then let's think about the child. So what is the child? So, I mean, now what? The lion bit the dragon. We shattered our tablet, and so what do we do now? What is that child? So for Nietzsche, the child is the phase that we transition into, where we can begin again, almost from clean slate, when we really shed all the burden from the camel, and we beat all of that conscience that told us who we are or who we're supposed to be, and now we can start and create that thing, create that entity, which is the child. And what I love so much is that this is exactly what's in the heart of the conversation in our holiday reading. That God tells Moses in our holiday reading, "Lo tuchal lirot et panai, ki lo yir'eni ha'adam v'chai." He tells Moses, but you cannot see my face, for a human being cannot see me and live. Now, in these very famous words, God tells Moses that a faith in God is not of this world. No one in this world can see God and live. And it has a reason. And the reason is that as soon as something becomes worldly, we are in danger of worshiping it like a false idol and turning it into a crime. Now, the true faith in God, and this is the message of our holiday, is on the one hand full of doubt, and on the other hand, very creative. So basically, we cannot really understand God, but we can only glimpse or feel enough of it to then participate with its creation, to then know how to do the work ourselves. And this is what's in the conversation. It says, "V'ra'ita et achorai upanai lo yira'u." God tells Moses, you only saw my behind, you never see my face. We can feel a glimpse only enough to do it on our own, to become the child. And so I just want to conclude by bringing you the last verse of the entire Torah, which unfortunately we will not get to read because we're skipping the last portion of the Torah, וזאת הברכה. The entire Torah ends with the verse, ולכל היד החזקה, ולכל המורא הגדול אשר עשה משה לעיני כל ישראל, which translates to, and for all the great might and awesome power that Moses displayed before all Israel. And so it begs the question, why this entire Torah, our greatest book, ends with this word? What is this mighty power that Moses displayed in front of all Israel that is written in the end of the Torah? And Rashi explained, before the eyes of all Israel, This refers to the fact that his heart inspired him to shatter the tablets before their eyes. מועדים לשמחה.